Thank you, Clywyd, and I move these amendments in the name of Darren Millar. It is clear that the motion presented by Plaid Cymru seems to have completely misrepresented the UK Government's policy on minimum service levels by claiming that it is an attempt by the UK Government to gain sufficient coercive power to curtail both trade union and worker ability to engage in lawful industrial action, when this is clearly so not the case and not the purpose of the legislation. But then again, Clywyd, Plaid Cymru members do have their social media channels to think about. The Conservatives believe wholeheartedly that everyone should have the right to strike. But when it comes to the NHS and to the Fire and Rescue Service, it is not right that those who are in desperate need of emergency care cannot get an ambulance or rescue service because of strike action. The measures proposed in the Minimum Service Levels Bill are designed to protect lives and ensure that people who face an imminent threat to life or limb have quick access to care and treatment. And it is mind-boggling to me how anyone could not want such care to be received. At present, the minimum service levels for life and limb protection are individually negotiated by various services across the country, which leads to considerable inconsistency. In Wales, there is likely to be a different minimum service to England and Scotland, and legislating a pre-agreed national minimum level across the entire United Kingdom will help to improve consistency. Another reason, as many in this chamber will very well know, is that current legislation on striking services does not require people to say whether or not they intend to strike, which creates situations where people organising rotas have no knowledge of who will actually be available for work, making it very difficult to plan even minimum services for shifts. And it is vital that for health, fire and rescue, transport and education, these sectors are able to plan. In my mind, there is nothing wrong with introducing legislation that provides minimum service levels during strikes, so that the most vulnerable, those who are in life-threatening danger, have the service that they need. The International Labour Organization, which the TUC subscribes to, recommends appropriate minimum service levels in both vital and non-vital services, and similar minimum service legislation are already commonplace in several European countries, such as France, Germany and Italy. The Department for Business has published its impact assessment of the strikes minimum service levels bill and drew a broadly favourable picture of this legislation, concluding it would boost public confidence around access to vital services during walkouts. Go on.
You say that you want us to follow the French and Italian models, and the legislative framework around employment laws are different there. Not only do they have different laws around strikes, but they've got better representation of workers on their boards. So if you want us to have the same rules around employment as they do in France, why don't we have the same rules with getting workers on the boards of those companies as well here in Wales?
Well, I'm sure that's a question you can point to the Deputy Minister for Social Partnership. And a broadly favourable picture of this legislation, concluding it will boost public confidence around access to vital services during walkouts, and stated that there would be economic benefits that would result from less disruption to day-to-day business activity. I will, however, concede that there will be a need for more consideration to certain aspects of the minimum operating requirements, for example in rail, where whilst trains can be reduced to 1 per hour instead of 3, there are some services, such as signal boxes, that are binary, and in aviation, air traffic control is either open or closed. But this will, I am sure, be addressed in the secondary legislation accompanying the bill. There's no doubt in my mind that this bill is about fairness and balance, nothing more, nothing less. If a trade union notifies an employer of a strike in accordance with existing normal rules, this bill means that employers will be required to consult the trade union on the minimum number of workers needed, and the work will be undertaken, and they must have regard to the union's views before issuing any work notice. Therefore, the notion that this bill is a full frontal attack on the working people and trade unions is nothing more than political posturing by Plaid Cymru. And I would urge everyone here in this chamber to vote against this motion and instead support our amendment tabled in the name of Darren Millar. Thank you, Clywyd.